Hi everyone, this is Peter Schiff. It is Tuesday, September 29th, 2009. Well, we heard news from the FDIC that they're basically out of money. All the failures at all the various banks have depleted their funds, and they're going to raise $43 billion with, I guess, special assessments or accelerating the fees that they collect from their member banks. They're trying to raise $43 billion. Now, first, the FDIC is making a point to mention that this is not a federal bailout. We're not using any federal money. We're going to get the money from the banks. Well, of course, where did the banks get the money? They have the money because they got bailouts from the federal government. If the federal government hadn't already redirected so much money to the banks, they wouldn't have all the cash to pay these fees. Also, the banks are able to remain solvent by putting fictitious valuations on their assets thanks to the repeal of mark-to-market accounting, and also because the Federal Reserve is giving away money for free, banks are able to earn much larger profits than would otherwise be the case if there was a realistic cost of money. So this is a roundabout federal bailout. But the reality is, this is just the tip of the iceberg. The FDIC is going to require hundreds of billions of dollars of taxpayer money, if not well over $1 trillion before it's all said and done. Look, there are huge problems in the banking sector. We've only scratched the surface. More and more banks are going to fail. And unfortunately, the FDIC is probably going to make everybody whole. And I say unfortunately because making everybody whole by printing money is worse than letting depositors lose money when banks fail. See, the problem is the government recently increased FDIC insurance, I think from $100,000 to $250,000 per account. But as far as I'm concerned, if a bank fails, the government's not going to let anybody lose. The government is probably going to insure every single deposit. After all, if they're going to bail out creditors of major financial institutions, why not bail out large depositors? After all, the government doesn't want anybody thinking their deposit is at risk, no matter how large it is. So, of course, the government is going to step up to the plate and bail everybody out, which, again, is a massive moral hazard. The biggest problem with FDIC is what it does, how it abrogates the free market process that would keep banks to have a solid balance sheets and control risk. You get two things with the FDIC. Number one, the government tells depositors, don't worry about the risks that your banks are taking. It doesn't matter. Just put your money in the bank. Don't give a darn what the bank does with the money, because if the bank fails, we got you covered. We're going to make you whole. So the depositors, they couldn't care less how much risk the bank takes. All they care about is, how low are my fees or how much is the interest on that CD. Now, the banks know this. The executives know this. They know that they don't get any points for having a sound balance sheet. The only thing that wins them customers is high interest payments, which means take more and more risk. The more risk you take, the more you can pay, the more customers you can have. If you decide to be more conservative than your competitors, you're going to lose depositors to your more aggressive competitors. So all the FDIC does is damage. And now, of course, with the government assuring that no matter what happens, if any entity fails, no need to worry, you're going to get your money back. The problem banks attract even more deposits, and when they fail, the losses are even bigger. But what the government has already decided is that no one's going to lose money. They've picked their poison, right? They're not going to allow deflation. They're not going to let people lose money. They're going to make sure that nobody loses money, which means they're going to make sure that all the money loses most of its value, which means everybody loses. And it bothers me every time I hear someone from the FDIC. They had a spokesman out again today. No one has to worry. Everybody's deposits are safe. Nobody is going to lose any money through the FDIC. Unfortunately, that is true. Nobody is going to lose any dollars in an insured account. But all those dollars are going to lose their value, and that's worse. So instead of going to the bank and the money isn't there, or some of the money isn't there, you go to the bank, you pull out your money, but then you go to spend it, and the purchasing power isn't there, and you can't buy anything. Also, quickly, I want to talk about the elections in Germany over the weekend. Once again, we see another country moving more towards freedom and less government and away from big government policies. That's exactly what we saw in Germany, We saw the same thing recently in Japan. We saw the same thing in other countries. In fact, if you look at elections, New Zealand is another one that comes to mind recently. But the pendulum is swinging in the direction of less government everywhere in the world, unfortunately, except for the United States. We're the only major economy where it's going the other way, where we're going towards bigger government and less free markets. Now, hopefully, what's happening overseas is a good sign that in 2010, we can make some headway in reversing the course, and maybe in 2012, make even more headway, which again is the very reason that I'm running for the United States Senate, to try to reverse this course, to try to get the U.S. more in sync with the rest of the world, moving away from big government towards less government, towards more freedom. Again, everybody, if you want to help me in that respect, that's on my website on schiffforsenate.com. Go there and sign up. Where, as I said last time, we're working on ways to utilize the volunteers. We need as many volunteers as we can get in this campaign. If you've already volunteered, great. Talk to some of your friends. Get them to come to schiffforsenate.com and volunteer to help out as well. And if you haven't volunteered, go to the website and do that. I mean, volunteering can be just as important, in fact, maybe even more important than donating money. Of course, if you haven't donated money, we can use that as well. Anyway, again, it's schiffforsenate.com. That's it for today. Don't forget to listen to Wall Street Unspun tomorrow, my radio show at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific.